Here it is. We're live. It is Thursday afternoon here on the East Coast, 3 o'clock. And I'm Brent Leary.
And I'm on the East Coast too, so it's 3 o'clock here. And I'm Paul Greenberg.
And if you add Brent Leary and Paul Greenberg in Thursday afternoon, you should come up with something that we don't need to even say anymore. But we'll say it, I guess, just for you guys. It is the CRM Playaz.
It's about time that
seems like there should be like some like a bleeding kind of sound after we say something like that.
Well, we got so many sounds there. We got to add sounds to I'm the Godfather. We got to add sounds to, we got like 20 sounds to add to stuff. So we'll get there.
I haven't really missed the sound over the 17 years we've been doing this. So
no. I think are we the only show on the network that
doesn't have an intro?
I think
well,
we are.
No, because any show that I'm on really doesn't have an intro.
Well, see, my others do.
You know what it is? It's like every other show has intros. I mean, like every other show in the world has an intro. And I like not being like everybody else. So that's probably why I've never had an intro before. I'm going to get an intro. I'm going to have maybe have Chanel work with me to figure out a unique enough intro that I'll feel comfortable about using it.
Yeah, but except, the one show that probably will never have an intro is this one because we already have our intro.
We could tape it.
Yeah.
Nah, probably not. But one thing we are missing before we get into our specialness of this show is we are missing our moment is Finn. Where the heck is Finn?
He is our intro, actually.
He's our moment is Finn.
Oh man.
Does that mean we can't go on with the show?
Well, we have to, but
all right, Finn. We're putting you on double secret probation if you don't show up next time.
That's right. One is okay, two not.
Yeah.
We need you, baby.
Wow. I wasn't prepared for that, but okay, we'll go with that. But seriously, this is a special CRM Playaz show because we are going to be talking about a company that has done things differently than any other technology company I've known. And they've done it for over 30 years and they have done it successfully. So we're going to talk about Zoho at 30 with our buddy who also happens to be the chief evangelist, Raju Vegesna. Although, like I said, chief evangelist does not really describe at all the totality of what he does for Zoho.
Not even close, actually.
But we'll get into that a little bit later. But we do have what I like to call some housekeeping items.
So far you're like, I think it must be like 8 weeks in a row you've got it right.
I felt like I was on a streak and I'm messed up, but maybe I was just like having a nightmare or something.
I think it was because I don't recall you making that mistake.
Well, okay. I'll go with that. All right. So very quickly, because this is not our usual show format, we're going to do some stuff up front, maybe the first 10 minutes. And then, although it's already 3:06, the first 7 more minutes, and then we'll get into it. Because we really want to talk about Zoho. And I know you want to hear from Raju.
Oh, yeah.
More than hear from us. All right. So, but next week, how do you like that? That's I used I think I used Gemini for this one. Didn't do a bad job.
No, the Gemini's good. Is that Nano Banana?
Well, Gemini uses Nano Banana in the back.
Right.
So yeah.
All right. So effectively Nano Banana. So they're good. They're better than Claude at it. I'll say that.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So they've done a good job, and we'll show you another one that they created for us. But next week, Creation was it yesterday or the day before they announced some pretty significant news around growth.
Yeah,
which is really great in this particular time period. Is there's some pretty bad stories going around with growth and things. But we'll be joined by now. Do you remember how to pronounce his last name?
Yeah, Olkowski. Olkowski.
Jason Olkowski, but there wasn't. Remember,
yeah, there was.
There was a weird.
Yeah,
we'll have to ask him. We'll get a refresh because when I was emailing back and forth with Kate, who is their analyst relations head over at Creatio, she said, "Hey, do you remember talking to Jason? You remember that story about his name?" And I had to lie and say,
Of course.
No.
Well, I'm talking to her tomorrow.
"Okay,
So
well,
we're just having a catch-up call, but I'll ask her about the pronunciation of the name.
either that, I'll just go back at the what was that, couple years ago? I think.
At least a couple years.
But we want to get the skinny on all this stuff that's going on. They're announcing, and so Jason will be joining us next week. And a little later, I think like 3 weeks from today, we are trying something new out.
28th. Yep.
The last the last call. We are doing a show. We are experimenting on a show. We had for the first time ever, since we actually have a decent number of shows and some really great show hosts. It's not just me and Paul anymore. And we were just kind of thinking, you know what? We actually got a lot of people involved here. And so a lot of great shows, a lot of great conversations. They have great guests, along with being great industry influencers and analysts and thought leaders and all that stuff. And there's so much going on. It's kind of hard to keep up with all the shows. So what we thought we would try, we would experiment. Even we kind of wanted to get their feedback too, all the show hosts. We have like 8 or 9, maybe more than that at this point.
It looks like more than that. Well, it depends. If you count, ITHS has about 5 or 6 by them. What?
I think I got 4 of them listed there.
Yeah, not all of them, but you have who you can fit on that.
So we wanted to throw the idea up to them about how about at the end of each month, all the show hosts do a show, and we'll call it the last call, like for the end of the month, the last chance to talk about some stuff that you want to get into as a show host that you might have picked up from one of your guests on a show. And they said, yeah, absolutely, let's do it. So we are going to pilot 3 weeks from today. We're going to use the CRM Playaz as a launching pad.
Yeah, that's what it is.
It's a launching pad for PPN Presents Last Call.
Where we're going to pilot on.
Oh my goodness! Wow. Yeah, definitely need a soundtrack after that. But so all the shows will be represented by hosts of the show. So it's Talking Headless with Shashi. It's In the Hot Seat with like 4 or 5 different people. It's Game On with Paul and Todd, right?
Right. Well, yeah.
Right. Well, Todd is going to be there. You're stuck. You're going to be representing CRM Playaz. So
of course, the 2 of us. We're the hosts of the hosts.
Yes, and the Crunch with Rebecca Wedeman and Dave Smith, and another new show that hasn't even aired yet, Beyond the Playbook.
Speaking of
unfiltered, you got to put that unfiltered in with Steve Reese, who is the former CIO of the Phoenix Suns.
Yep. And
that's pretty cool.
It's a great show too. And I will tell you this, when it finally airs, and I hope that is we can get that going soon. There is an amazing story in it that you just want to hear.
Yeah, absolutely. So this month, 3 weeks from the how can I forgot Fast Forward with Ron Miller. Jeez.
Oh, you
do that?
Oh, you're right, you did.
There, and it's right there. So all the shows will be represented by at least 1, 2, if not more of the hosts. We're all going to come together. We're all going to talk about what had gone on in this month and what, before the get to a new month, a whole bunch of new stuff. We're gonna thrash it out. The last call. That's why we're calling it Last Call. Although, does anybody else think it kind of looks like The Last Supper?
Well, we're missing Mr. Hoyos in the middle. If that's
we're missing Jesus in the middle. But anyway, that should be fun. We're looking for. We don't know how it's going to work. That's a lot of people. We're gonna have to figure out how it works. That's why we're calling it a pilot. But and we invite you to help us, because you might in the comment section mention something that we should actually be talking about and discussing, and we definitely welcome that. So mark your calendars. 3 weeks from today, August 27th, 3 p.m. Eastern. PPN Presents Last Call. And maybe people have some alcohol while they're doing the show. I don't know.
We tried that with EWPK. It doesn't, and with our happy hours too. It didn't really work.
All right. So I think okay. One quick thing.
Just saying it, man.
One quick thing before we get in all Zoho. I've been looking at all these earnings that are coming out and trying to figure out, particularly with the enterprise SaaS stuff, and trying to figure out what do the significant earnings crashes that happen after each of these companies announce. Any enterprise SaaS company that has recently announced earnings, they've just been getting slaughtered. The companies that haven't been getting slaughtered, the pick and shovel guys when it comes to AI. So HubSpot came out last night, down 23% at the beginning of this morning. I thought it was going to be another one of these because I thought I had a theory. I thought I had the reason why all these companies are going down despite increased revenues and hitting expectations and all that. Their CapEx AI spend is too much, and their free cash flow is falling, and that seemed to be kind of a formula for why a lot of these companies are just getting killed. Well, guess what? HubSpot did not have that problem. HubSpot actually is only spending a relative small amount on CapEx AI, like 5 to 6%. And they have their free cash flow is growing. So I was like, why is that taking place? And Gemini gave me this nice little graphic of why CapEx is not a problem and free cash flow is not a problem. But you know what the problem is? Customer growth. Enterprise customers are slowing down on their purchases for CRM software.
Well, the other side of that, honestly, they were always marginally at the edge of the enterprise anyway. So how would I put it? If I was ruling out, I'm trying to watch my expenditures, let's say for CRM, kind of rule them out reasonably quickly if I'm a big company.
Well, but the thing is, and I asked Gemini, Gemini is really, in all these, you get some good stuff out of some of these things. So I asked, is this loss of customer or a lack of new customer growth, is that just specific to HubSpot, or is it more of a industry-wide thing? And unfortunately, it's more of an industry.
Well, that's not shocking at all. That's what I'm saying. I'm just saying that when that happens, certain companies are on the margins, are the first to be hit, and they're on the margins.
Well, right? And the thing is, even though some of these companies are investing significantly in AI CapEx and have significant free cash flow, there's no real ideal or specific formula that you can apply across the board because they're all doing things differently. Like we know some companies are spending a huge amount on CapEx. Company like HubSpot's not. Some companies have a pretty significant amount of free cash flow, and they're still not. They saw their stock drop. We saw a company like Amazon with AWS is in actually negative 7 billion cash flow, but their stock price went crazy because their CapEx AI spend is paying off. You saw AWS grow up is like $169 billion annual part of the Amazon business.
Yeah.
So it's like very hard to kind of figure out there's no real one formula that answers.
No, and I get that. It's, ultimately how much confidence you have in a company is what it boils down to. And for whatever while, because, it's a core piece of business for Salesforce and a significant piece of business for Oracle and important to the ecosystem, and they know it. But when you have tentative companies again, HubSpot's always been at the margins of enterprise. No, we don't actually. But I'll talk to Jeff about it since you decided we should talk to Esteban, right? Right. So, we'll when they're at the margins like HubSpot, nobody's going to. People are going to say, well, if I have to do some investment, it ain't going to be with them, right? And again, margin of enterprise, I'm talking. With ServiceNow, they're saying, well, they don't really have a full CRM confidence yet. And now, I put nothing past ServiceNow. I'm one of the people who believes they can do pretty much what they need to do, even whatever, and will do the work they have to. But those are tricky, and those companies both are in tentative pieces of this. And so where the other ones are established solidly, even if they're hurting a little, they're not dying. Let's just say that.
No, I mean they're making money and they're doing.
I meant hurting in the CRM business in particular.
No, but when it comes to their stock and their company valuations, they're all in the same boat right now. If you're considered an enterprise software company and you're publicly traded, unfortunately, you're kind of getting lumped in with all the other ones, even if there are distinctions. But let's move on. Maybe our guest has some thoughts on this, because that company has been in business for 30 years now. We're talking about Zoho. And before we bring Raju out, I actually mentioned on another show that I do on Fridays called Small Biz Breakdown. I mentioned that we were going to be talking about Zoho at 30. And I asked the fellas over there, and was Ivana there? I don't think Ivana was. No, she wasn't. She wasn't on this one. But I asked, I think it was John Colorice Lawson, Shashi Belamkanda, Ramon Ray, and Pierre Du Bois. I hope I said his name right. I just asked him, did you have any thoughts about Zoho from their own personal experience? Let me play a quick clip, and then we'll bring Mr. Raju Vegesna on with us. So this is what they had to say. Anyway, since we all are, I think I can honestly say that we're all familiar, and I think we're all fans of this company. I'm actually going to do something I usually don't do, and I'm going to plug a CRM Playaz show, because I bet you guys already knew this, but this is Zoho's 30th year of being in business.
Yep.
And I've known Zoho for 21 years, since 2000. Damn, that's just crazy. 21 years, and my partner Paul Greenberg has known him for 27 years. But anyway, what's great about Zoho and why we wanted to acknowledge / celebrate them being in business for 30 years is because, quite honestly, a lot of the folks that I knew back then are still there. It's amazing how many people that I met in the early days, or at least my early days of knowing Zoho, that are still there. Not to mention, I think the whole executive team is still there, active, or at least a part. And so over 30 years, they've accumulated over 150 million users globally, all over the place, 1 million plus paid business accounts, a culture that is like no other in technology. And so we're going to spend about an hour with our buddy and chief evangelist. And actually, this guy, Raju Vegesna, they just need to give him like some kind of multi-title, because he does way more than one thing or two. He even does designing of the buildings and things like that. So we're going to spend an hour with him, learning from them, learning from what they have been able to do, how they were able to do it, and not just a backward look at Zoho, but we also, because Zoho has probably been planning for the next 20 years. So get a little insight into the future of Zoho.
Mm-hmm.
So please join us Thursday at 3 for that. And I include you guys, if you guys have anything you'd like to say about your experiences with Zoho, feel free to share that. But I just wanted to put that out there.
You want to say that now, or you be saying on the live show?
I mean, you can do it now, and we'll record it and play it. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't think we were invited to the live show at August 6th at 30 p.m. I just thought you meant that. But yeah, you know what? Here's what I'll say, Brent. Like you and Shashi, I've known Zoho for a minute. Back in the day, some of us remember when Sridhar and Raju would come to New York or wherever you may be at and showcase their products and services. Hey, we have our by then 10th app, 15th app, whatever.
Yeah.
6 years ago, right? Like, wow. And I think my short comment to them is just to say, as you said, Brent, What an amazing global company, us with a US centric mindset. That's my version of global, the US company going out to the world. That, I'm American, I'm US thinking. But them being an Indian based company in Chennai, to watch them up close, how they embrace eating Mexican food, embrace eating food in Tennessee, just that spirit of truly global, that small thing, enjoying the food of where you're at. So that's number one. And I think number two, talking again to the executives, not as much as you all have, Brent and Shashi, but to some degree over the years, how they're very fastidious, very focused on using Mexico as an example, using other countries. We're going there. We want to hire local staff. We want local senior executives there, but we will infuse them in the Zoho way. One of our senior Zoho people may be embedded there for X time. And if I get it wrong, give me grace. That's number two. And I think number three, and I'll wrap up here in a minute, but thank you, Brent, is that the aspect of the software. I think they may admittedly say it may not look always perfect, may not be the best when we launch, but we're focused on privacy and we're focused on having it lowest cost or at least highly competitive. So I'll stop there. Those are my 3 points, but kudos to Zoho, kudos to the team, the longevity, many of the employees there. Hey, I've been here 15 years. You go to the typical US company, I've been here a long time, all 8 months. I'm one of the senior staff. So kudos to Zoho.
Anybody else want to say anything before we move on?
Actually, no, thank you, Brett. The way I look at Zoho, and in my mind, I have several blog posts. When you look at companies that are owned by private equity, the companies that are public, and then there are companies that are like self-funded, and these self-funded and usually or sometimes owned by a small group of people seem to have employees who stay for a long time. They don't raise prices every time, and they seem to care about the customer. It seems like like Ramon said, the American value here is we provide employment, we give customers good service and value in terms of not worrying about the stock market or worrying about how much our company is worth and should we sell it to somebody. That is a sign of stability. I think going to one more step forward is they thought of sovereignty long before any other company. Like, let's own our network, let's own our data centers and equipment. I was actually on a interview with Raju last week. Lots of fun. He thinks very deeply, so I'm looking forward if I can make it to the live show there.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, I got the wrong clip. That was the extended version of that clip. So we had to cut them off because we got some stuff to ask them as well. So without further ado, Mr. Raju Vegesna. Hey, Raju.
There you
Hey, Brent.
are.
Hello, Paul.
I do have a new title for you, by the way, that encompasses
Okay.
what you do. Chief. That's it.
Yeah, I generally don't put title on my business card, partly because my unofficial title is whatever it takes.
Right.
So whatever it takes for the company to succeed.
Hey, can I want to jump in and we kind of are bypassing Stump the Godfather because this is a special show. But I want to kind of do Stump the Raju.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to put a quote up and I want to see if you know who said it. Okay.
Stump the chief.
I'll read the quote. When control over intelligence can be taken away by external vendors or geopolitical decisions, every enterprise and nation has to ask the fundamental gut check question. Are you a customer or are you a hostage?
That
Who
sounds
said-
like me.
Let's see if you're right. If I can only find the way to advance this slide. Yeah, look who did. Yeah, you did say that. Wow. First of all, you won Stump the Raju, so that's a big thing. Now I know we're going to go back and forth between how the early days and what's going on in here and now into the future. But that was such a kind of a really interesting quote. Would you mind just sharing your thoughts about why that was at the top of your mind? Because I actually saw this on I think it was who owns the plug that you guys are doing with our buddy, the Brohammer. So it was a really interesting show, and that one really stood out. But talk us through that a bit, and then we'll go 30 years back and then 50 years into the future.
In a lot of cases, I'm comfortable asking the uncomfortable question. So, but not everyone is willing to listen to that or ask the question themselves. That question you can ask that at the personal level, at the company level, or even at the country level. So now the question is, at the personal level, you can say, do you own the house or does your bank own the house? How sovereign are you, right? These are uncomfortable questions. At the company level, you can ask the same question. Can someone else pull the plug that your business is at risk? And the same can be done at the country level. So can someone else pull the plug on trade to whatnot, like communication to whatnot? And there are these uncomfortable questions that you should be comfortable asking them yourself, particularly when you in uncertain times, and the sovereignty is a key part. And that's where it is important that we raise and ask the question ourselves instead of seeing it in action. And in that context, I think sovereignty is an important topic for us, and we believe in that, and at every level. So that's in that context is where I was asking that question.
Before I turn things over to the venerable Paul Greenberg, let me just mention, thank Pierre. I usually don't say Pierre's last name because I'm afraid I'm going to mess it up. I did throw it out there, and apparently I got it right. So thank you. It's like housekeeping. His last name, I don't know. And of course, all of us are mutually fans of Sanji Low.
Oh yeah.
But I don't know if I'm a fan of this state. Why does he get an extra large hug? And
she talks to you more than she talks to me.
Get a handshake or something? High five.
I'm tired, man.
Yeah, whatever.
Give my age some respect here, dude.
And a special hello to my buddy who is listening to a lot of our stuff. She must be listening in spite of me because there's a lot of other smart people on these things. But thank you, Amber, for joining us. All right. I turn things over to the venerable Paul Greenberg.
So let's go back 30 years, though. I mean, here's the thing. And Brent, you were right. I've known Zoho 27, I think, of those 30 years, although Vijay seems to think I've known you 32 of the 30 years. He actually said that. He actually publicly said that at the Analyst Summit this year.
In other words, you had this intuition that this company...
Well, I mean, I kind of did in a weird way. I'm not going to, but this, I did find out from Mani that I was the first person to write about Zoho CRM ever. That's what he told me. Which
that would have been a good Stump the Godfather question.
Yeah, well, I would have known the answer though. Right. So, but let's go back to when you joined and what year that was. Was it year 1, 2, and why? What made you even go to Zoho? Because I'm sure it has a lot to do with the current ethos too.
And what employee number were you, by the way?
Well, we didn't have any employee numbers. I joined in 2000, and actually, I was there in the office for some reason, and they needed some help. And I think the accounting system was crashed or something like that, and they didn't know how to recover. Okay, I said, okay, I can help you. I have free time. So I worked on that, and they needed somebody who knows some databases, and okay, I said, okay, I can help you with that. So I was just sitting around. I had my own company back then, and I was debating if I should continue or not. And then I happened to go to California with my carry-on, and I stayed with my friends, and I happened to be there. And I came across some of this. Okay, I said, anyway, I have one more week of vacation, so I'm gonna help you out. Then Sridhar came and said, hey, do you want to join? And thought about it and said, yeah, sure. I felt I did not expect anything out of it, and but 2 or 3 years later, I had to go back to New Jersey to bring my other luggage, but I went there with the carry. ended up staying there.
So why? Obviously, you joined with kind of okay, we'll see what happens in the beginning. but you're still there, and not only there, you are not. To Brent's point, you're not just the chief evangelist, and that's why I said you're just the chief. I mean, it's like you do all these things at the level of a C-level officer of some kind. So, what kept you there?
End of the day, it's almost always people. You have the people with the right mindset, have humble, willing to listen, with the right goal, right convictions. And the most important thing is freedom for an employee to execute on some of these. When you have a crazy idea, it's not crazy in the company. It's like you have the freedom to execute. That freedom is a huge part of it. And not everyone may take advantage of it. In my case, I like experimenting things. I like doing things sometimes that are completely off the track of a tech company. But when you have the freedom to experiment, then it's like your own company. So that's how we operate. So those are the ones that kept thinking. I still remember the first day I joined and went through it. And I can't believe it's been 26 years and still feels the same way.
So what about go back to 2000 and then think about where we are today and where Zoho is today? How is it still the same as it was back then, and how has it changed? Or what's the biggest change over that time?
A lot of things changed, but a lot of things remained intact. And so the technology changed, the products we changed. Believe it or not, I remember shipping the product on a 3.5-inch floppy drive.
That's how I think I saw your CRM product.
A floppy.
Yeah, no, I literally think I saw the CRM product that way.
Wasn't that the 5 1/4 size thing? That was.
No, that was before that. I did use a 5.5 and I was burning through some of those, but then things changed. Later I remember shipping the CD drives to downloads to streaming. All of these are transitions. So the technology changed, but the people didn't. Right? The kind of products that we built changed, but the ambition really didn't. So we have the markets that we serve changed, but the convictions didn't. So I would say the convictions and the culture as it evolved, that remained the real operating system. While the app you build, the products you build, everything else evolved as the market evolves, and we are in the process of evolving yet again. So, but when you have the root, the underlying people with the convictions who enjoy technology and like working with each other with the same conviction and wanting to work with other people, then everything else is fun.
Well, I noticed one of the things about Zoho that I just fell in love with, and I began understanding when I first met you at CRM Evolution, was the ethos of the company itself. I mean, I remember a conversation I had a few years after when I started getting to know the company better, and it was with Sridhar, who, for those of you who don't know, is Sridhar Vembu was the CEO of the company internationally. Now is what, chief scientist? Yeah, chief scientist. It's still, primary founder of the company, though, co-founder. And we were talking about farms, agricultural work you were doing with ancient grains to find a sustainable long-term grain, so that you didn't have the horror show that the Green Revolution turned out to be, which it was. And he told me this story, which I never forgot, about him talking to one of your, I think she was a coder, and he asked her about what was your ambition, what do you want to do? And she said, well, I actually went to school for agriculture and business, so on and so forth. And he basically said, okay, you want to run the farm, right? In effect, right? And that's what happened. But that kind of thinking, right, which is one, out of the box, two, kind to people and respects them, that ethos carries to the way you guys view the entire world. The software, again, I've said for a long time, I don't think you were a software company for quite a while now. They produce software, still, where you get cash comes from. But the reality is you've been an infrastructure company at the actual social good level as well, and physical infrastructure level, way beyond just software. But the ethos that governs it was reflected in that conversation with Sridhar. So can you talk to that a little more detail, the way you think about your employees, the way you think about your customers, because it is really distinct compared to almost every other company I've ever met.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that Sridhar said early in the day, and is, hey, when an employee is not enjoying their job or is not doing the job, it's not an employee's failure. It's our failure to put that person in a place where he can succeed. Now, every person has talent. It's about identifying what their talent is and putting them in a place where they enjoy better, they succeed. And because you discover your talent over a period of time. And that's why we occasionally see a lot of people moving from one to the other and all of that. And then there are people like me who want to do a lot of things but don't have the time to do a lot of things, then you should have the freedom to do a lot of things. So we do that as well. So across the board, you see a lot of it, but that ethos has kind of always been there, putting the person in a location or in an area that they are interested in. So if that somebody wants to do farming, well, maybe we start a farming company, start doing farming. And that's what we do. And I actually did not know that Sridhar was even interested in farming for a while. That's probably 10 years after I joined the company is when I discovered he's also interested in farming. Because I had my own theory in farming. I thought, software and farming are perfect match together. And I started my own farms independently. And then realized that, okay, he's also interested, other people are interested. So that's why now we have a farm in Austin. It's a real business too. That's a different thing. But broadly, there are some ideas that we are aligned on. Like, take something like, in the farming, it's a monoculture. It's a monocropping that we have seen. And you see that in the construction. You see there's a monoculture of construction where you see the same cuboids built vertically one on top of each other. We call skyscrapers. We have seen the monoculture in food. We have seen a monoculture in dressing. And now we are seeing maybe monoculture of ideas with AI. But what we like and enjoy is the diversity in food, diversity in thinking, diversity in business, the products they create and all of that. So interpollinating across industries and all of those. And those are the ideas that always attracted us. And freedom to pursue all of these ideas independently, and who is interested in those ideas. And it's a culmination of a lot of these. And the beauty is we have the freedom to execute these because we're a private company. You go to an investor and say, we're going to do farming, they're going to laugh at you, right? So in this case, it's employee satisfaction. You give them the freedom and then explore ideas, freedom to fail, freedom to experiment, and then pick yourself up and bootstrap with your bootstraps and build the next one and next one. And you enjoy technology, you keep investing in it, keep the employees happy and customers happy. And then, so those are the ethos that kind of attracted not just me, but many members out there in the organization. I'm not sure I'm completely touching on some of these, but at least I'm giving you some hints on what are the interesting pieces that attracted. Yeah.
Because I mean, we're talking about Zoho at 30. A lot of people have been at Zoho for 20 plus years. There's been a lot of change in technology. I mean, you guys, your customer base is expanded to basically all over. So I mean, you have employees that are in places that they weren't 20 years ago. You have whatever AI is doing to the Gen Z and beneath them, in terms of how they view their opportunities for work and employment and all these. So culture, or at least the factors of how you have implemented your culture, they're constantly changing. But how much of your culture was already set in these early days, and that has been one of the reasons that these employees have stuck with you so long? Or are you always having to kind of reevaluate and tweak around the edges on a constant basis in order to keep up with your employees and how they want to work and keep them there?
It is always a work in progress. If you step back, what is culture? Now, culture to a company is what character is to an individual. And your character is shaped by your convictions, and a company's culture is shaped by the convictions. What are those convictions? Like in our case, we say people first. That's the number one. People first, respect people for who they are, for everything they bring to the table. And that's the number one, no compromise, respect everyone, right? Then it goes down, the thing where freedom is important. And as a byproduct, sovereignty and all of these come into the picture. Then, no debt. And if you say freedom, that means we don't want external investors and all of that. And another conviction, technology to help people's life. Technology, not for the technology's sake, but technology to help the society in general. These are all the core convictions out there, and that shape the rest of the company. So we have had some core ones, and then subsequently, as we learn, some of them develop into convictions. Generally, it's always starts with an idea. An idea, transitions to an opinion, and then then transitions to a very strong opinion, and then becomes a conviction, and it keeps adding to those convictions out there, and that applies across the board. Like, I cannot say that we had a conviction on AI in 2020 or even 2000, right? But now we are forming our own opinions and convictions on AI as well. It's an evolving thing, but there are always the core convictions that aren't going to change, like people first and whatnot.
Well, that actually, one of the things that I've always observed about the company, I've always known about the company, is probably a better way to put it, is taking those convictions and how you actually apply them goes from a macro level all the way down to a micro level. And when I say that, it applies to the way you deal with technology. I'm going to be a little blunt in what I'm about to say, but I remember when you first started using AI, which was Zia, right? I still don't love the name, to be honest, but I thought it was all right. I didn't think much of it. I thought it was not the best thing you were doing. Let's just say that. You had some otherwise brilliant products. Then, when 2022 comes around and we start seeing everything, you completely re-engineer everything, and not only do you completely change the quality and capabilities of your AI offering, but you also develop kind of the thinking and the thought leadership around it, because you were the first company I saw to publicly say it's not all about only LLMs, right? You were the first ones to do that. And I remember we had an analyst summit where you went through wide language models, narrow language models, small language models, the works, vertical, etc. But you were first, so you developed the thought leadership too, right? And you went from, I'll call it at best an average product to a superb product with the thinking around it deeply thought out, right? And the willingness to pursue something at the point when everyone was saying, let's shave off this part of an LLM. Let's do this with an LLM. Let's do that with an LLM. When that obviously wasn't the right thing to keep saying all the time. But you guys did that. And that willingness to listen and to think, look, I was always blown away by how you respect the thinking of other people. I know you did that with me, and I was honored that you did. I still have this memory I'll never forget of what you guys did for me one time. I won't go into it now, but it was unbelievable. To this day, it is a memory I'll die with. I'll put it that way. It was that big a deal. And so,
something to do with the Yankees, or
no,
just want to make sure.
Don't even talk about them right now. Right. But I've seen that respect with everybody, the way you treat people all the way around. Yeah, look, perfect example. Analysts love you. right? That is the rarest thing in the universe, right? That I've never heard an analyst. I know some analysts might say crosswords to you, but I never hear them publicly. I'll tell you that. There's a and that's a hard group to get to like you. Let's just put it that way. But it's not just that, you don't kowtow to analysts, but what you do is you respect what they do, right? And you treat them as the human beings they are, one way or the other, whatever form of human they are. And you
Whatever form of human they are.
Well, yeah,
Okay.
believe me, there are some
I
that
think
have
that is
horns.
what.
Some have horns and tails. Let's just say that. So, the thing is that that ethos, that's not just an ethos, that's the foundation of your culture. And during COVID, you guys opened kitchens, you opened the purses, you just opened the doors so that you could help during a crisis, right? You continually are doing things like that. The hospital in Chennai, the medical instruments, everything you're doing, it's all geared toward, as I told you before we started, you outbe any B Corp I've ever seen, right? You guys are connected deeply to social good. And that I've never seen anything like you. I don't actually think your model, I think people can learn from your model. I don't think they can reproduce it. I just don't think it's there. I think you're the only company that can do your model right now, but they can learn how to do things their own way with some of the lessons that you teach. Can you dive deep into that, including how that impacts the internal and external policies of the company?
Yeah, thank you, Paul. I think respecting people, there are two layers, right? There's the people and then there are ideas. You may disagree with the ideas, but you still respect the people. So, and even you may disagree, but still that's an important discussion to have. That's where I go back to the diversity of thought being important, and that will shape our own thought process consciously or unconsciously. And those inputs, even if they are on the other side of our thoughts, are important things. But irrespective of whether you agree or disagree, you still have to respect the people. That's who we all should be doing that, right? So for us, that's a no-brainer.
Talk a little bit about the current economic environment, and we'll go international, not just what's going on here. It's so chaotic. Every day, you never know. And I'm not making this political, but you just don't know what you're going to be faced with. You don't know what somebody might say that will completely disrupt.
What might that be?
I'm just saying. Some days you go to bed, say, "Man, this is a great day. All this great stuff happened." You go to sleep. You have a really good night's sleep. You wake up in the morning and the whole world has gone 180 degrees different because of something. How difficult is it to operate for a technology company, particularly one we just talked about before you got on? Maybe we get your thoughts on the whole enterprise SaaS industry and how it's being looked at at least from a financial analysis perspective. It's like they are just getting killed. Now you're public, private. You're not in that, but you see it, and you still have a company that operates in all this. How difficult is it right now for a company, a tech enterprise software SaaS company, to kind of operate in the current environment? And do you see it changing anytime soon?
It's part of the fun, right? When
that's fun. Okay, that's good to know. It's fun.
Hey, we are living in a world where maybe policies might change on a weekly basis. Geopolitics will change on a weekly basis, and technology is changing on a weekly basis. It's like when things change, when the landscape is changing underneath, the ground is changing underneath, you can't build a house. You need some kind of a stability. The same way the technology landscape and the geopolitical landscape is changing. So how do you build a company, a business, or a business model? These things are challenging. And this is not just a challenge for us, it's a challenge for pretty much every company out there. And because we're broadly a global company and we're well diversified, that helps us cushion some of these. And also because we are not a public company, that'll that'll help us navigate it maybe a little better. But we all have to navigate that. We don't have an option, and that's what we get paid to do. But broadly, I'm really optimistic about the future. I zoom out and say there's a lot of technology out there and a lot of digits being produced. It's raining digits out there. And actually, technology will be commoditized. And what does it mean? The value will go towards people and relationship between people. And that's how it should be. It's okay for technology to be commoditized because the value will shift towards building people to people relations instead of just talking or spending time with software. You spend some time with other people, and that's a positive note. I'm optimistic on that front.
All right, so let's start looking ahead for Zoho. I mean, you've done an enormous amount on the technology side. Again, you've had, not only is Zoho One a super premium product, you finally convinced me that you're ready to go to the enterprise in the US, right? Took a while, as you know, but you did. And I am convinced that you are ready to do that. From the analyst summit, especially, to convince me. And you got all the elements in place to go scale up if you want to. You don't seem to have diminished in any way your connection or commitments to doing, social good and doing good in the world. At the same time, we're seeing, the uncertainties you've just addressed and what's out there. But and at the same time, you have all those other parts of businesses, the hospital, which are not, I call that more of a social project than a business, but the medical instruments group, all these different pieces, the farms and so on and so forth. Can you talk about Zoho's future? And let's just listen. No point in taking it 50 years. Take it 10, and we'll
Sure.
up to 10.
Yeah, let's look at maybe short term and long term.
Right.
I don't want to put years in there. Short term, we are operating as if we are a startup now. We don't have any baggage. We don't have any technology. We don't have any goodwill. We don't have any customers. We'd say we are back to square one. Let's build. If you were to build a company from now with today's technologies, how would you do it? So whatever our revenues or our customer base, we are putting it aside and say we are starting from scratch with AI and all of that in this current landscape. How would you build it? That's the mindset we are approaching. If we have to redesign the product strategy and go-to-market strategy in today's world, how would we do it? We have reimagined ourselves several times in the past with the same mindset. We are at the same mindset now. We are reimagining ourselves in this new world. That's the first one. In the short term, that is what we're going to do. In the long run, I think digits are going to be commoditized and the value is going to be in atoms and the combination of atoms plus digits, hardware plus software, to put it differently. So I think you'll see a lot on that front. We'll invest, and we are investing a lot on hardware side and software plus hardware. And we take a company like a Tesla or an Apple. You can call them software companies also shipping hardware products. Right. Software is a commodity, but hardware is a thing. And likely see us going towards that. I mean, like for example, we have some medical equipment that we do. Yeah, software should be powering some of these, and AI and some of these will be embedded in there. End of the day, to take healthcare, to make healthcare very affordable for everyone out there globally. Can we do that? Can we make the hardware and software integrate well together, offering value and provide value there? In the long run, I see that is one example, but we want to do that across multiple industries and all of that. It's probably a hardware plus software, where atoms will be where the value is going to be, at least in mid to long term. But that's how we see going. Any specific industries, there are some industries that are very critical that we want to double down on, which are very fundamental industries. But then we'll have to see. But as I said, we are a very ambitious company. When we want to do a lot, we will do a lot. We have a technology that helps us do a lot. But where are our people going? We will double down on people-to-people relations. We'll double down on helping our customers hands-on and all of it. Less people on the product creation side, but more people, and or we'll transition them towards serving the customers. So that's where we'll end up. So that's where people should be helping other people, and that is where we are deploying and all of that. Most of the jobs will be customer facing. I should say helping businesses out.
All right, so we're at the top of the hour. We don't want to take up too much more of your time, but I actually was looking at a video that you and I did a couple of years ago when you announced, I think it was your 100 millionth user. And one of the questions I asked you was, what does that number, 100 million user, what does that number mean to you? And the very first thing you said was, it means we have to be very responsible, to our customers and things like that. So as we sit here in 2030 and we're in a whole new environment because AI, there's a lot of AI uncertainty, a lot of AI anxiety. When you think of the responsibility you had back then when you were talking, how has that changed, if at all, as we move into this very high speed scale in an instance? People can hit a button and their businesses can blow up. How does that level of or feeling of responsibility, has that changed any? Has it morphed? Just how do you view it now before you viewed it the way you did when you hit the 100 million user mark?
That didn't change much, Brent. I think the responsibility is there, but that doesn't mean we can fall behind in some of the things that we do. So we are doing a lot of experiments and all of that, but we cannot compromise on security, privacy, and all value and all of those things. Those are convictions that will continue the case, irrespective of what we do. So the technology landscape changes, convictions don't, and how do we continue to serve our customers and in the process while doing some experiments? That is a fine balance, and there are some ideas there that you'll hear more about in coming months on how we plan to be ahead of some of these markets and the technologies. But we certainly have some ideas there. And not that, take something like AI. I don't remember if we charge our customers for AI, even today. We are open to taking a hit ourselves, meaning instead of raising the price of the customers, we'll take some hit internally, but continue to deliver value. And that is the way, at least we think about it. So let customers, that's part of the serving customers. Customers don't have to know that, but that's part of the ethos. And so, but it is all the engineering and the R&D that we do at the back end that enable it.
You know what? That was the most succinct, clear answer to the cost question that I didn't even ask. I didn't ask him about it, and he brought it up. We've talked the whole year about how we go to these industry events or do these industry watch parties. And the thing that I've been looking at from the beginning of the year on with all these events is, how are they addressing what I think are the biggest AI anxiety questions that are causing a lot of this apocalypse stuff? And it's always around, how much is it going to cost me to use it? And will I destroy my business if I do something and it wipes out my database? And just recently, we started getting decent answers to that. It's been a very hard thing for a lot of these company executives to answer. But the fact that I didn't even ask you it and you answered it without a thought, it was really, that's very impressive. That's assuring the customers, basically.
Yeah, the costs are going to come down either through our innovation or other innovations. I mean, you take AI, and AI is expensive because of power and whatnot. Our brain uses about 20 watts of energy, and our digital brain, or AI, you can say it uses about somewhere between 30 to 60,000 times that. This cannot scale. It will come down, and there are ways to innovate and make sure it comes down, and innovate your way towards it, and that's how we look at it.
Let me put up this last comment from Sandy. There's almost a full paragraph. It almost covers Raju's face up, but we'll keep it up there. One thing I can say as an employee, only 8 years in, still a baby, and Zoho stands, which she is. Yeah, she is still kind of a baby. Despite all the changes and the unpredictable climate, there is a sense of calm and confidence internally that we will be steered the right direction. It's due to the deep convictions we have. Very rare.
Amen to that.
I echo the whole thing. The calm, the ability where all this stuff is going on, and it always feels like you guys are able to take it all in and stay the same, is something that you don't see very much in the industry. So I really do echo what you said there.
Yeah. Well, I still, again, I remember you and I had a conversation about when you grow, there's a good chance that your culture is going to be lost as the way you wanted to keep it. And while elements of it have changed, you proved me completely wrong on that one. So your culture has sustained itself. It's, to me, and I'll just say this in closing, is you're the best company I've ever known. And I said it unequivocally, right? And you're one of the best people I've ever known too. And
No, thank you.
I was an analyst for 30 years, actually, just about. Well, at least approximately an analyst for 30 years.
You were an analyst-ish.
Yeah, I was analyst-ish, right? For about 30 years, and one of the great honors of my career was having interactions with you guys. It really was, and I very much appreciate how much you actually do out there, right, for the people of the planet, really. And I'll just put it that way.
Can I end this with a question to you, Paul?
Yeah.
Are you kind of glad that Raju didn't take your advice?
Yeah.
leave?
Yeah, I'm definitely glad about that
So
one. That was well, again, it's the only person I thought the company had one employee, Raju. Right, that was it. But I had already known the company. Now that I think of it, because I actually realized if you've been there 26 years, and I've known it 27, right? So that doesn't make any sense to me. No, it doesn't actually make sense, because I'm pretty sure you introduced me to the company, right? So
Yes.
it must be 26, not 27. Although I'm going with 32.
Dude, my mind is I can't keep up with all this stuff. All I'll just say is, Raju, have you worked on your handstands lately? Are you able to stand on your head?
No.
Should our headstand?
All right. So we had to find something we could nitpick you on, and we want you to work on your handstands, headstands, whatever.
No, Sridhar was the headstands.
Well, he was doing 11 minutes at a time.
I think he was up to 13 last I talked to him.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did that at the Zoho day a couple of years ago. Yeah.
By the way, Raju, we have a firm date for IRL 27. It is February 23rd and 24th. We would love for you to mark your calendar. And Sandy, mark his calendar, because we know you're still there.
We're giving you loads of time to be available this time.
We would love to have you.
Yes,
we would love to have you guys.
Absolutely.
All right.
Would love to be there.
Okay.
All right. So on behalf of Raju Vegesna, I'm Brent Leary.
I'm Paul Greenberg.
We are the CRM Players, and we will see you next week. We
Don't
give many
forget,